Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norma Juarez. I am a proud alumna and staff member in UNC's Alumni Office. Thank you all for joining us today for the Alumni Career Panel, Alumni Working in Sustainability. Today, you will learn from and connect with fellow UNC Bears working in this industry. But before I introduce you to our panelists, I would like to share a couple of housekeeping items with you all. This event is going to be recorded and will be available on demand a week after the event on the alumni website. And I will be posting that link in the chat feature. So make sure you open your chat so you have access to that website. I invite you to start building your network and reach out to your panelists after the event. I will post their contact information on the chat feature as well. And third, I will go off screen after introductions and I will return towards the end of the event to provide a closing statement. As we highlight the careers of these alumni, I invite students, fellow staff, and faculty to ask questions through the Q&A feature. Now, please help me welcome our panelists. Panelists, can I please have you introduce yourself by stating your name, title, company, your UNC degree, and by sharing a little bit about yourself. And Leslie, we will start with you.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Trejo. I am a project manager and environmental planner at Rincon Consultants, Inc., a California-based company. I graduated from UNC in 2016 with a Bachelor's of Arts in Environmental Planning and Sustainability. And a little bit about myself, I am from California, moved back to California after Colorado, and love my two cats at home.
Thank you, Leslie. Patrick.
Hey everyone, I am really excited to be here. I am Patrick Hogan. I am the Senior Research Manager at People for Bikes. I attended UNC from 2009 to 13. I originally majored in economics with a minor in sustainability and then switched to a double major when environmental and sustainability sciences became a major in like 2011 or 12. In my time at UNC, I served on the first board of Student Leaf after another group of students like brought it together and created it. I was the first secretary of Student Leaf. And then since leaving UNC in 2013, I went to CSU for a master's in environmental economics where I like married my two undergrad majors. And I've been working in outdoor recreation economics since then, analyzing how many people participate in given recreation activities. And I now get to do that for bikes. So People for Bikes is the nation's largest 501c3 focused on bicycling and the industry trade association for bicycle products in the US. So we represent companies like Trek, Specialized, Giant, Shimano, and SRAM, all focusing on how to get more people riding more bikes more often.
Awesome, thank you. John?
Oh, hey, thanks so much for having me on. I'm John Moeller. I'm the COO at Block Power. Block Power is a venture-backed company. We electrify buildings. We call it turning buildings into Teslas, usually multifamily and small commercial. So taking fossil fuels out of these buildings and putting in modern electric-based appliances. Before Block Power was with a company, a SaaS software as a service company called Mach Energy. I was the CEO there. We actually monitored lots of buildings in Denver. I'm from Colorado originally. I'm in San Francisco now, but my mother's still back in Boulder County, and I visit a lot. In terms of UNC, I have a finance degree, and I was just looking at the Gunter Hall. I somehow still remember that behind Norma there. And I ran, I was probably one of the slower members on the track team as well.
Thank you, John. Conrad?
Hi, everyone. I'm Conrad Schlarbaum. I'm the Director of Sustainability at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. I received a degree in Recreation, Tourism, Hospitality, and a degree in Environmental and Sustainability Studies, both at UNC. I was also a founding member of Student Leaf, part of a capstone project from the INS program was born Student Leaf, and I'm so glad to hear that it's still going to this day. and has grown in its influence and on campus. I also did a study abroad in Nicaragua for a couple of weeks where I studied sustainable agriculture. Since my tenure at UNC, I did an internship at Great Sand Dunes National Park as an interpretive ranger. I went on to be the second sustainability coordinator at Pikes Peak State College here in Colorado Springs. And then I just moved over here to the University of Colorado Springs in May of this year. And I received a master's degree in environmental studies and sustainability from Unity College, which is in Maine. And that degree was completely online. I earned that in 2020.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to hand it over to Chris, who will be our facilitator this afternoon. Chris?
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Chris Bowers. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Manager here at UNC. That's a new position as of this spring. And a lot of that's due to advocacy of students like the ones who are watching this. So the work that the panelists did when they were in college is continuing on today. So it's exciting to see sustainability being promoted throughout the nation as our alumni are graduating, but also continuing to improve here in Greeley. So a little bit about me. I graduated from CSU with a business administration degree and spent quite a few years in private sector construction, became a lead AP, and came to the University of Northern Colorado as a project manager about 8 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to work on an energy performance contract. It was a multi-year project, $8 million invested in campus that achieved over $500,000 savings annually. So really exciting projects to be involved in and to promote sustainability on campus. And I'm excited to have that my full-time job now. So like Norma said, this is going to be interactive. So please, if you're watching this, throw some questions in the Q&A and that's what we'll talk about. But until those start coming in, we've got a few other questions we can throw out to the panelists here. So the first question we have is, what internships, jobs, or volunteerism from your time at UNC led you to your current role? We'll start with Conrad.
So I was with the Recreation Tourism Hospitality program. And if you're not familiar with that program, there was a requirement to get 1,000 hours of experience before you graduated. And so I did so many roles. I worked at Bear Logic. I worked at the Veterans Services. I worked at the Outdoor Pursuits. And then I created the 2 paid positions within Student Leaf. So even when you don't have a position to go into, you can create a position. That's the beauty of being a student at a university. I also volunteered at Bonell Good Samaritan at Greeley. I volunteered with the city parks and was a basketball coach for 6-year-olds. I did a haunted hike, a haunted house. Worked at conference services, you name it. I was fully involved and took every opportunity that was available to me to get experience. And it was a journey, and it was beautiful, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So I will say, be a hustler in terms of going after all those opportunities, because there are not as many as you might think, and you really have to go after them if you want them.
Excellent, thank you. Leslie.
So a little bit similar to Conrad, but also a little different. I spent most of my undergrad in campus recreation. So I held a lot of campus recreation jobs, whether that was intramurals, club sports supervisor, recreation attendant, that type of thing. So not really anything related to this job. Um, but it was a lot of fun, and it helped me to explore what I did not want to do. So that was helpful in a way. Also helped out with student leave. So that was very helpful in figuring out that I did want to do sustainability. Other than that, a lot of my jobs were not related to sustainability in any way, shape, or form. But again, it did really help with understanding that that is not what I wanted to do and figuring out my path moving forward.
Thank you, Patrick.
I didn't hustle quite like either of you two. I spent my time working with Student Leaf for the year that I was in that organization, and the rest of my time I spent working at a bike shop. I'd been working at bike shops since I was 13 as a kid, and I spent most of my time riding bikes or riding snowboards, and that ended up translating into my job in the outdoor recreation field. But I don't know that my message here needs to be that y'all should go ride more snowboards and ride more bikes. So so maybe listen to Leslie and Conrad about the value of hustling and all the different opportunities that exist, or maybe some that don't exist, and you can create your own, like Conrad said. That's the beauty of being on a collaborative space like a college campus, is that you have that freedom.
Very good. John.
Hey, thanks, Chris. So I was a finance undergrad. My first job was actually at Sun Micro near Boulder. And then I went to business school in New York and continued the finance track and then banking for a long time. So I was just very interested in getting into sustainability. I started doing lots of research. I just had a conversation with someone else with a similar background, and I think, you know, it's applying your superpower, what you've got, because every sustainability company needs marketers, needs salespeople, needs finance people, needs product developers, operations people to actually do the real work. And so these companies need that. And so I was able to join this company, Mock, and they wanted me basically to talk to finance people, to sell, which was interesting. So I think apply your superpower, and be open. Your superpower as someone just out of undergrad might be to reiterate hustling and just doing everything for a company, and that's actually really valuable. We've got a lot of work to do to fight against climate change.
John, were you involved in student leave?
I don't think it was available when I was there, actually, or maybe I missed it. I was at Kepner Hall, and the track thing did keep me pretty busy, so maybe I missed it.
No worries, no worries. One of the questions that came in was for the students who were in leave, what major projects did you focus on?
So since I kind of started the organization, my focus was building out the guiding principles and standards and documents that help guide the work moving forward, advocating for paid positions. Some of the first projects that we worked on was one of the ways we came about was the administration there at UNC was proposing these capital improvement projects, but we're not addressing some of I forget the building name, but there was an abandoned building on campus that had asbestos and was kind of condemned, and we were wondering, why are we building new buildings and not addressing this building? And the other piece that was on students' minds was why, when we go to campus, why are we turning our irrigation systems on in the middle of the day as students are walking to campus and getting sprayed by the irrigation systems? And I think it was those two things that were happening: students wanting more control over the capital improvement decisions that are being made on campus. And there's the tangible reminder of those things as you walk across campus with the irrigation system that I think were fundamental in getting students to agree to the green fee and to support student leave. And then beyond that, when we finally got some money and got our committee together, we focused on irrigation controllers being first and foremost. We also worked on can crushers for the dining facilities. We looked at pet waste stations so that there wasn't dog poo all over campus, stepping on dog poo, and then recycling indoor and outdoor recycling stations, I think, were a lot of what we did. And we did little events like tie-dye shirts and asking students, what kind of projects do you want to see on campus? And trying to get as many students to propose projects to help keep keep the ball rolling with projects and progress on campus.
Patrick, I know a lot of your student leaf experience overlapped with Conrad's. Did you have any other projects you wanted to speak about?
I couldn't possibly say it any better than Conrad did. No, that was a pretty comprehensive overview. Yeah, the strongest recollection is just that irrigation project, and yeah, we campaigned, or they campaigned on that, and the huge potential cost savings. And then when we finally realized those cost savings after year one, it was such a huge accomplishment that we were able, like, a small group of really energized students were able to make this little change that had such huge impacts on the campus, and seeing that it was possible, I think, just like re-energized everyone. And so, yeah, it was irrigation was the biggest one, and then just that awareness and making sure that, yeah, we tried this and it worked once, but we got to make sure that it's continuing. So how can we get the rest of our student body really as excited as we are about making these sustainability improvements?
What were the savings like, you guys recall, per year?
I don't want to get the number wrong. I have a number in mind, but I thought it was something like $700,000.
Wow.
I could be totally off, and it's fantastic that this is being recorded. And if I'm wrong, it'll live on YouTube forever. But someone will post in the comments somewhere, "Hey, Patrick, you idiot! It was way less." And that'll be just fine. I would love for someone to like dig that number up and correct me, because you know, even if it was less than that, it doesn't matter. It was a huge financial saving, and the amount of water that we were saving by doing responsible irrigation was really what we were looking for. You know, like watering in the middle of the day, not having irrigation systems that
Right.
recognize concrete structures and paths and things, and we're like, just wasting all this water. We can do better than that. And the result was we improved upon it a lot.
Very good, thank you. Leslie, I know you had some experience with student leave. Talk
Yeah,
about that for a minute.
absolutely. The couple of years that I was there, we really tackled fast fashion and setting up clothing swaps for students in what used to be the main hall. I know they've since revamped it and it looks amazing now, but that would be it. We would have everyone come out and either donate clothing or take clothing, whatever they wanted. It was free or a small fee. And then there was also meatless was a hot topic at that time. So organizing films for people to view on how meat consumption was bad for the environment. So just really cool stuff.
Very good. No, that's great. We have a specific question for you, Leslie. It says, can you speak to your experience as a woman in the field, what that's been like? Are there obstacles that you have faced that your male counterparts have not, or has it been more difficult to be taken serious as a woman in the industry?
So I actually have to say that I have been really blessed, lucky, that most of my supervisors and most of the environmental planners, scientists, engineers that I work with on a daily basis are all women. My company is predominantly women, and most of the teams that I work on are women. So no, I would not say that I have run into very many issues. We do have to work a little bit harder to get our voices heard, especially when you are working with other cities and working with developers. No offense, John, but it is rewarding at the end of the day to know that you are the expert and being able to say, this is the path forward that I think we should be going in. So Fortunately for me, not a lot of barriers, and I am surrounded by very strong and smart women.
It's great to hear. Very
I
good.
don't have the data, but I would think that in this industry, anecdotally, there's pretty high percentage of women drawn to the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Trying to sort through the questions in a logical order here. So related to all of you, as you've kind of entered this career, did any of you experience any stigma when telling people about your environmental sustainability major? Thinking Thanksgiving dinners with the family, how'd that go? And how'd you handle those situations?
I was asked if I was going to be a professional hippie, and I said yes. And turns out I'm a professional hippie, and that's totally fine. Yeah, you know, it's especially when it was first offered as a major in like 2011 or 12. I think even the department was like sort of trying to define exactly what it was, which is fine. You know, it's a new thing, and it was getting its footing. But I don't know, just being sure about what you want to do here. Like, I don't know that I've faced too much of a stigma, except for cranky old grandparents who are going to say whatever they want about whatever you're going to do anyway.
Anybody else? Or vice versa, were you was it received very positive by friends and family?
I think that
Go ahead, please.
I think there's some conversation of what Patrick did say, you are a professional hippie, or what comes along with being labeled a hippie. I do think that there are some environmental companies that really lean into it, and that's a lot of fun, and it makes for great company culture. I did also kind of have that when being told, or when telling everyone that I was doing environmental sustainability. But at the end of the day, it's what I wanted to do, and I would much rather hug a tree than go into finance.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, hopefully a lot of these products you can do both, right? That's and that's why I was asking about the savings. I mean, my parents are pretty thrifty folks, so I just said, hey, our software saves people money on energy, and they instantly liked it and got it. And I think that's the ROI is key for almost all these products for adoption, and fortunately the technology is there in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I would say that I just grew tired of explaining what sustainability is to everyone. So I just shortcutted it and said, I do resource conservation work. It's pretty neutral. I also work primarily with in conservative areas. And so I try to use a language they understand, use terms they understand, that they're familiar with, rather than the terms that, you know, I have learned over the years. And just like John, I focus on, you know, I save institutions and people money at the end of the day. And who has a problem with saving money? So when they really pencil out with the money, that's I think garners support for them. So I would say that's kind of how I've dealt with the stigmas. I think is more of a, I'm not sure what you do, but I think there's a myth out there that everyone that's in sustainability is a environmentalist or something like that, or the environment is the first thing that comes to mind when you think about sustainability. So I would just encourage everyone to kind of challenge that and say, no, we're about social equity and we're about financial responsibility just as much as we are about the environment, because when we bring all those three co-benefits together, that's when we really truly have a sustainable solution.
I think you just touched on one of the questions here, and I'm curious to hear this. How would you all define sustainability in your own terms? Conrad, I think you just did a good job of defining it for yourself. If you want to add to that, or. Excellent.
Yeah, I would say the triple bottom line, people, planet, prosperity is one way of describing it. You can also use the U in Brundtland. I've memorized that definition, but you know, I try to tailor my message towards who I'm talking to. So if it's a business major, or if it's a social science major, I talk a little bit more into what it means to be socially equitable, to be financially responsible, and to be good stewards of our resources that are such in limited supply and have impacts across social and economic systems.
Very good. Patrick, how would you define sustainability?
I gotta start giving answers before Conrad. I don't know. I can't follow him. I don't. Frankly, I don't think I have anything to add. That was perfect. Triple bottom line. Like I'm the economist on the panel. That should have been my answer. But thanks for throwing that one out there, Conrad. That was great. I wish I could add something.
Oh
We'll let Leslie try. Did you want to?
gosh. I mean, to give it a fluffier description, I would say trying to leave this planet a little bit better than how we are right now, whether that is through our work or in our personal lives. And again, always with our wallets.
Excellent. John?
Yeah, I think everyone said it pretty well. Conserving resources, be it energy, dollars, reducing carbon. Conserving resources.
Very good. All right. Getting back a little bit to your college experience and how that's shaping your career right now. Was grad school necessary? Patrick, I'll let you go first this time. You don't have to follow Conrad.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, it was definitely necessary. For my role doing quantitative studies of those participating in bicycling activities, a more advanced understanding of research methods and survey design and data analysis packages and everything beyond what I got in undergrad was certainly necessary. And so for me and for other folks in my field, like a master's was definitely sort of the minimum requirement. And there's a lot of PhDs out there too. I would say I don't think I've hit any glass ceiling only having a master's, but PhDs certainly probably have an easier time finding a job than someone with a master's.
John?
Yeah, I'd say yes and no. I think getting into banking, I believe an MBA was necessary, at least the level I was going for. And that, that level helped me become accustomed to dealing with investors and folks like that. And that's who our customers were, or real estate investors. I sometimes think that I should have spent more time in undergrad at UNC, like developing what the next few. I always knew I wanted to go to grad school, but I didn't know what was happening right after graduation. And I probably, have friends that are doing stuff similar to me that took the accounting route, CPAs and that sort of thing. So I think there's definitely routes where you don't need that to go to grad school also. So you just have to be, think about it a little bit earlier.
Leslie?
I would agree with John, both yes and no. I think for my job, I really appreciate having a master's degree. It helped me find a job easier. But there are definitely ways to do it straight out of undergrad. And I would really recommend finding internships in what you want to do. So whether that's, especially for being an environmental planner, that would look something like working with a county or working with a city or a parks department. Those are really great avenues to get some experience without having to go to grad school.
Very good. Conrad?
Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't be able to get this job unless I had a master's degree. I actually applied for several jobs and was explicitly told that I wasn't getting the job because of a master's degree being part of that. So that really compelled me to get a master's degree. But to get into the field, it's all I needed was a bachelor's degree. And I'm glad I didn't go straight for my master's. I know this is contrary to what good advice you get from an advisor, but I'm really glad I got some field experience, because when I went for my master's degree, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to double down and commit to it even more than I had originally with my undergraduate degree. And so I really would echo what Leslie said in terms of getting experience, however that looks. Having coffee with somebody and saying, would city work be the work, would it be on a college campus, or would it be in a city? What context? Would it be in the field, or would it be, kind of in an office environment, or would it be a hybrid of sorts? And just kind of explore really what's available out there, and then look at job descriptions and see what they're asking for, and look for the next job, and what are they requiring of you? What do the peers look like? Have conversations with people and really explore what that looks like, and see what you need. And I'm a big advocate for getting as much education as you need to move forward with your career aspirations.
Very good. Conrad, you were touching on this a little bit. The question is, when you all were looking for jobs fresh out of UNC, did you look at the government side of jobs or more on the private side of the environmental industry? John, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I was looking almost exclusively private. Yeah, like tech companies generally. Remember, I didn't come out of school as a sustainability person. I evolved into it, and so maybe I'm not the most relevant person to answer.
Leslie, did you consider any municipality government work?
Yeah, so I started applying for environmental jobs after grad school and looked at water districts, parks districts, cities and counties, but also private. And obviously now I'm working in private and really enjoy it, but I am a big advocate for public sector work too.
Patrick, sorry.
Yeah, I spent a little while looking at government jobs, and as an environmental economist, a lot of the jobs that I was qualified for were in the federal government, in these huge departments, these huge bureaus, and was a little bit concerned about the impact that I would be able to have in those large government offices. And so I sort of shifted my focus to more of a private side, where I thought that I could make a little bit more of an impact, just because selfishly that's what I wanted to do.
Conrad, you're in the public sector.
What's interesting is the first job I applied for out of UNC was the first sustainability coordinator for New Belgium Brewing Company. I didn't get the job. It was a stretch, but yeah. And so I would say I really looked for jobs out there, and I was willing to apply for anything that had sustainability in the title. I was really committed to sustainability, and even though there were very few jobs that had sustainability in the title, you might call it an environmental planner or something like that, but there wasn't too many jobs that had sustainability in the title. So I really went after those jobs and was willing to be unemployed for 6 months post my internship at Great Sand Dunes to secure the job at Pikes Peak State College. I will say that I've worked I built a business over the pandemic. After grad school, I started a consulting business, and I know one of the questions has to deal with consulting. And I was a consultant for the city of Manitou Springs, and we did sustainability training, and I helped work on ordinance and city code, an update to their municipal code. And I will say that I had no prior experience working with a city, and I noticed there's a lot of jobs. I would say the two sectors where I find the most jobs, at least what I've been exposed to, has been for the public sector, higher institutions of higher education and city government work. And I didn't have any city government work and experience, so I started a business, and I through myself and moonlighted as a consultant for the city of Manitou Springs. So I threw myself at that work, and I have a whole library of books and articles that I've read to catch up to speed and offer something to a city that couldn't afford a full consultant firm to support their efforts.
Very nice. Excellent.
Yeah, this I would just add, like Block Power, we're selling to cities that have decarbonization goals, and the feedback I get is that these cities are understaffed. They have, major initiatives underway, but they're understaffed, and might be worth that. Going back to the research, if there's a city that's got something announced, maybe they don't have the resources to get it done, and they might welcome interns, or it might be a way to get some volunteer experience.
Very good. Yeah, I can say for me personally, I never considered public sector work. I went straight from college to private sector, and had this opportunity through my network to come to UNC, and another individual who had gone before me said, yeah, this is good. You should do this. And so there's trade-offs. There's different things that are good about private sector and public sector that you just got to kind of make those decisions for yourself. But I would encourage anybody to work in both. I think it's a great experience to understand what drives private sector, and then to also understand what drives public sector. And there's a lot more overlap than I think a lot of people would realize without working in one first. So very good. Let's see. What advice would you give someone looking to start a career in sustainable consultations? So Conrad, I know you've got the experience with that.
Yeah, I there's a lot of organizations and businesses that are not that familiar with sustainability, but their clients and their customers are demanding it. The industry is demanding it, and they're just at a loss to know where to start. And so consulting can come along and say, hey, there's a third-party certification you can go after. There's some regulations you need to be aware of and get in compliance with, and there's just all these opportunities, and there's ways to cut costs and still serve your bottom line. So I would say there's just a lot of opportunity out there. There's just not enough sustainability professionals. I feel like I'm one of a handful here in the Pikes Peak region, and I would say there's a need, but there's a lot of these organizations do not know they have a need. So you got to kind of present to them a compelling proposal. One example is the state passed a plastic bag and to-go container law, and that goes into effect January 1 of next year. And I can tell you the city of Colorado Springs is not prepared. The city of Manitou Springs is not prepared. There's a lot of cities that are not prepared, and they're looking for people to help them develop a compliance program to help get them prepared for this new regulation. And so that's just one example. And then of course there's restaurants who don't know where to procure reusable bags and paper to-go containers and those sorts of things. So there's a lot of opportunity. You just kind of have to be creative in what you think of as opportunity. They may not be jobs on a job posting. It may be a volunteer opportunity. It may be on a committee, on a public committee or something like that. Or it just may be showing up and having a conversation with somebody behind the counter. Could land you some opportunities that you may not have been aware of.
Very good. Anybody else have any input on consultation?
I think coming as environmental consultant kind of doing the same thing. I think knowing your stuff is very important, and also maintaining your knowledge, whether that be going to webinars, going to alumni panels, going to any training that you can. That's really helpful in maintaining a knowledge and also being a source of knowledge for these cities, these private organizations, whatever they may be that you're working with and for. And then also building and nourishing your network. People will talk to other people, and that's how you will continue to get other jobs. That's how you will continue to meet others who either have a need for our work or will want to work with you in the future. That's really, really important. And also maintaining your reputation. That is very top tier. Must always remember is to maintain your reputation. Your name is yours and solely yours. So trying to keep a good one is important.
That's a great point. I know here at UNC, we rely on consultants for all sorts of things, and very much appreciate their expertise and very quickly sort out the knowledgeable, ethical ones from the others very quickly. So it's a great point. I want to make sure we have time to get to this question. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your college years, what would you have done differently to prepare yourself to launch your career? John?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, being more thoughtful for those sort of gap years before business school, I think putting more thought into that, or maybe other options. I'm sure the crew that's on this type of webinar is being more thoughtful about that. Find a couple of good mentors. At Mock, I was very fortunate. The CEO at the time took me under his wing and taught me many, many things. And this it's some of it's just fit and getting to know people. And frankly, he, I worked really hard, and so there was something in it for him too. So find a good mentor and make sure it's like a two-way street.
Leslie?
Echoing what John said, find a good mentor, do informational interviews for organizations that you want to be a part of. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get a job or an internship out of it, but understanding what you might be interested in is a great idea. And that definitely helped me get to where I am. Granted, that's way past undergrad. And then I definitely would have looked at a lot more internships that were related to the environmental field rather than just doing any job kind of willy-nilly.
Can you talk a little bit more? You said informational interviews?
Yes, I set up 3 informational interviews after going to a conference. One of them was with a city planner, one of them was with the California Department of Transportation, and then the last was actually with Rincon Consultants. And that was 3 different types of organizations, 3 different types of people who work in the environmental planning field that I wanted to be in, and just getting an understanding of what their job looks like day in and day out, what types of documents they work in, and what about their jobs excite them and continue to make them come to work every single day.
It's a great idea. Very good. Patrick?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what everyone else has said, and just I wish I had been more curious and done more research on potential jobs. I really loved the environmental and sustainability studies program. I really loved the economics program. And I thought, if I follow this, I can't go wrong. I'm not going to worry about researching jobs until I need to start applying for jobs. But again, if all those folks that are watching this discussion right now are doing that, and so beyond that, I don't know that there's anything else, but just like let that curiosity lead you to informational interviews or whatever method of conducting research, so that you have an understanding of what's out there, and then you can really identify the opportunity to, stand out from your peers by hitting some of those like nice to haves that might exist for a particular job in a field.
Excellent.
I would think, hey, Chris, I'm sorry, can I add a couple
Yeah.
things? So when I said this mentor, I mean, I think it's sort of building on what Leslie said, like having coffee with people and just trying to keep the dialogue open, like, hey, doing your research, asking thoughtful questions and saying, hey, is it cool if I reach out to you later if I have a question? I had someone like recently ask me if I could be their mentor, and it seemed a little bit like we were dating or something. And I was like, what? And I was like, why don't you just like call me if you have like questions? I think it's just like, it's a mentor in your view, but just respect people's time. But I think most people would be open to like you paying them with questions like, hey, what do you think about these two roles? Or do you think solar is dead in Colorado and I should stick to solar, or whatever it might be? Those kind of big questions, people are really willing to help. I think a couple of things, sorry, Chris, let's keep going with my final messages, but I read a couple of these books in 2009 when I went into Mock. I read a book called The Clean Tech Revolution. It had things on, chapters on solar, wind, et cetera. And it really helped me sort of figure out what I wanted to do. So when I approached these software companies, I did it because, I thought the value proposition was high. And so I think this one is, Bill Gates, he doesn't need any plugs, but this is a good one. And it's segmented similarly, so you can kind of see the value prop of each of these. This one, I'm embarrassed I've not read all of it, but John Doerr did another, he's a VC, but he did another sort of similar one that's like full of data. It's probably a decent one too.
Very good. I'll echo what everybody said about mentorships, and that's something I didn't do well in college, and when I got out, I wasn't intentional about it, but very quickly, I mean, if you're interested in something and you show up and want to learn, people want to invest in you. And it wasn't until I was moving through my career a little bit when I realized, well, wait a minute, maybe I can pick what I'm being taught and who's investing in me, and that's been very helpful to me, to just build those relationships with people who are a little further down the road than myself. So, Conrad, did you have any thoughts on things you wish you would have done differently in college?
I would just say that I felt like I took advantage of every opportunity. If anything, I might have overbooked myself. Identify, my advice would be to identify the opportunities that will get you to where you want to go. Hopefully you've had a chance to figure out maybe what some career goals are. It could be a goal of just exploring what the field has to offer and kind of laying out a plan on how to do that. Like my colleagues have said here, having coffee and just doing some job shadowing experiences. I know I've set my students up with here in the office for some job shadowing opportunities. And I know as much as institutions like to have these career exploration kind of opportunities, it's kind of, I take it upon myself to provide these opportunities for students, because I know it's hard to know where to start and know who to contact and branch off and do what you can. But that's really truly a life skill. I put on Green Drinks event for many years here at so we go to a local brewery and we have a beer. They're part of the Brew Shed Alliance, and we talk and we talk about different opportunities and different ways to connect. So look for networking opportunities within your particular region, your area, and just get involved. Maybe get involved in the 350.org chapter or whatever, whatever kind of where there's energy is where I would go. And I will say, try to use those experiences to help you hone in on what it is you find yourself most passionate about.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. It was great advice. Got a question, another one for Leslie. In regards to your graduate education, Most master's programs in city and urban planning prefer an undergrad in urban planning or related field. Did you find resistance during the graduate application process because of your bachelor's? Did you find the ENS program provided a foundation adequate for grad studies?
No. I found that being environmental planning and sustainability actually really helped in getting an urban planning degree. There aren't very many environmental planners out there, and there are certainly much less who are trying to get an urban and regional planning degree. So it helped a lot. I will say that my personal statement for getting into grad school was not about environmental planning. It was more about land use, but it did serve really well and helped me get to where I am right now. So do not think that environmental and sustainability will hinder your ability to become an environmental planner. Just again, echoing what everyone else has said, be really thoughtful about how you want to portray yourself on paper, because that's how people are going to see you to begin with.
I think a lot of you have talked about the different roads you've taken to get to your careers. We're all in slightly different versions of this field, and we all came here in different ways. And I think you're absolutely right, Leslie. It's how you can market that and communicate your path, right? It's all going to be unique, and I think people understand that too. So let's see. We'll try to, if we've got time for one more, we'll do one after this, but I want to make sure if you had a final word or piece of advice for current bears looking to get into the industry, what would you tell them, Conrad?
I would say think outside the box. Look at what you can marry sustainability with. Don't just look at sustainability dedicated positions, because you might get disappointed if you don't get them. But look at how you can bring sustainability as a force multiplier, as a military term I'd throw in there, to really benefit a company. Don't think of it as a secret tool you have in your toolbox that nobody knows about, but makes you more valuable. And then once you bring it out, don't be shy about it, so that they can maybe you can mature into a full sustainability position because they see the value of the work that you do. So that's what I would say is don't just look at the positions that have sustainability in the title. Look to other jobs as well.
Very good. Leslie.
I would agree with Conrad. Same kind of thing. Sustainability is everywhere and can be in any job. That doesn't mean that you have to look specifically at an environmental firm or with jobs labeled as sustainability. A lot of these are buried in tons of organizations. And I mean, I think a perfect example is Conrad's New Belgium story, where you really wouldn't think about it, but definitely trying to find different avenues to get there.
Very good. John? John, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I would agree with Conrad and Leslie. Just be very open. Like I said, when I joined the previous company, they said, we already have finance people. We need people that can sell software. And I'd never really done that. And I was like, I want to contribute. Let's bring it on. And so I think it doesn't have to have sustainability in the title. I think you can do all sorts of things that can help. Operationally is probably even more important. We do, like I said, heat pumps, and we need a lot more heat pump people in the industry. I think going to work for an installer, learning that trade, you might have a pretty bright future, frankly. Just doing installations, there's gonna be a lot happening.
Very good. Patrick.
I would assume that everyone who's in this webinar is passionate about sustainability, and I would just suggest that in interactions with organizations and while networking, just be intentional and like genuine in how you describe your passion for sustainability. Because I think it's one thing to say like, yeah, I'm an environmentalist, or yeah, sustainability is important to me, but something that will set you apart as you're looking for careers is like really describing what it means to you and demonstrating how you're dedicated to being sustainably minded in whatever the role may be. You know, there's greenwashing in a lot of organizations, and similarly in a lot of candidates who might be going for the same position. And so just being intentional in the way that you portray yourself. I know we've said that a couple times, but it's so important to be mindful of how you present yourself and just be genuine.
Thank you, guys. We have 4 minutes, so you guys have 1 minute each to answer this last question. I'm curious, what do each of you see as the biggest opportunity in sustainability right now? And take that as you want, organizationally, nationally, as a campus, whatever, however you want to answer that. But what's the biggest opportunity in sustainability for you? Patrick, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I got excited. So I work for People for Bikes. We're the nonprofit, we're the industry trade association. And so bikes are my focus. And we saw so many folks during COVID start riding bikes, maybe for the first time in their life. A lot of folks for the first time in years and years, and really like fall back in love with cycling in a time when there were fewer cars on the road. 200 cities across the US rearranged their traffic patterns to allow for and encourage active transportation like cycling, walking, skateboards. And so cycling has an amazing opportunity right now. While we have the focus of those folks who started riding or restarted riding, to really make meaningful long-term change. And so that's what gets me out of bed every morning, is like really figuring out how we can motivate folks to not just go back to their pre-pandemic activities, but like replace car trips with bike trips. And for folks who are limited in their physical ability, like electric bicycles are a huge opportunity to replace car trips with bike trips. And as they're becoming more sustainable and we're learning more about the battery recycling process, the opportunity is huge. So I took more than a minute. I'm so sorry to my fellow panelists. I got very excited. Thank you very much.
It's great. Love it. Leslie.
I think for me, it's climate action planning and a lot of that regulation that's now starting to come out for it, and seeing a lot of cities and counties really gearing up to create these climate action plans and having those people who are going to enforce it, and not just let it be a document that sits on a desk forever. And along with that, speaking a little bit to Patrick, but also active transportation planning and getting those little tiny ways to reduce our vehicle miles traveled. And in that, it's all under this climate action planning for me. I'm going to keep it brief. So that's all for me.
That's great. No, appreciate it. John.
I mean, I think we're at Block Power, we're very excited, and I think across the industry about the Inflation Reduction Act. Obviously, that's going to be massive, and it's going to help heat pumps. It's going to help really across the board. I think probably everything we're talking about here now. It's a massive commitment, and we're all, and like I said, the industry is thinking about how to best leverage that. And particularly, we do a lot of low and moderate income communities, so there's even better incentives there, but it's can be tougher to serve. So those are two areas where we think there's lots of growth.
Great. And Conrad.
Yeah, where do I start? There's opportunity everywhere, but the Front Range has air quality issues, and there's water scarcity issues, and there's all sorts of. So really, what are you passionate about? That's going to drive you to wherever you want to go, and there's opportunity there. I'm confident there's opportunity there. So that is to say, look internal before you look external, and figure out what it is, and really explore the field. because your passion is going to drive you to the opportunities that exist in abundance out there.
Excellent. Well, it is 4:30 and I think we did good work today. So great job, everybody. Thank you.
I wanted to thank all of the panelists today. Thank you so much for being here and giving of your time and providing such great insight. Thank you for all of us who joined us. Thank you to faculty Jessica Salo, Chelsea Romulo, Catherine Johnson for joining us and making this part of their class. We will be hosting other alumni career panels throughout the semester. You can register at www.unco.edu/alumni/careers. Again, thank you all for being here, for joining us. Have a great evening and go Bears.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.